following interview is part of the USMC Vietnam Tankers Association History Project, and the interview is being conducted at the VTA reunion in St. Louis, Missouri on September 24, 2017. The interviewees are members of the Vietnam Tankers Association, and the purpose of the History Project and the interviews is to capture the experiences of our Vietnam veterans and make them available for future generations.
Harry Schossow. I was in Vietnam from December '67 to September '69, 3rd Tanks, Alpha Company, and 3rd Battalion.
My name is Roger Unland. I served in Vietnam from '67 to '69. I was with Alpha Company. I was with 1-3 at Thien.
That was your tank number, Alpha 1-3.
Yeah, I was on 1-3. Yeah, I was with Bert. Yeah, Alpha 1-3, and I served up at Thien with this Lieutenant James Cohen, and I was with him until he rotated out. But I got to do the luxurious stay of about 9 months at Thien. So long time for Marines to be in a mud pile. So our story, Harry and I, we're going to have to go like back and forth because we're still trying to get our stories out. And this story is science fiction.
No, it's real.
Well, it's real, but it sounds science fiction. Our lieutenant at the time was Frank Blakemore, and I got up and I had a time off, and I was walking the perimeter at Thien. And I'm coming around and I pull up on the tank and I pull up to talk and shoot the shit. So I jump up on the tank, and I haven't told this story since I've been back from Vietnam, and I didn't tell anybody. So I was going down, I jumped up on the tank and stuff, and we're talking to the two guys. It was a 3-man crew and stuff, and come to find out one of them is my friend Harry. And I didn't know because we looked different back then. So we had Harry and
Don Sanders.
The sergeant at the time.
Yeah, we're not sure who that was. If it was Sergeant Perry or Sergeant Hogg was there, but I can't remember which one it was.
So we're sitting around talking at night and having a good time at Thien, and it just seemed like all three of us noticed these 3 lights up in the sky. So I was sitting there looking at them, and they had color on them. So Harry goes, man, they're kind of far away, and they're not up in the DMZ. They were off on Leatherneck Square. So the other friend, Don, says, yeah, I wonder what the heck. Well, the sergeant jumps up. He jumps in on the conversation. He goes, yeah, I wonder what they are. And he starts taking readings on about where they're at, how high they are. So he jumps down and he goes, man. And so he jumps down in the cupola, and we have to call firepower. We just can't let the guns go.
Right. You have to get permission.
Permission. So the sergeant calls in, just protocol like he's supposed to. This is sergeant, and like we say, we don't sure. So he says, I'm sergeant, and I'm requesting permission to fire
at these UFOs, the lights. But no, when I talked to Don last night, he said that from headquarters, they had called in and thought that the NVA were sending helicopters down. So that's why we were looking up there. So we thought, well, maybe that's them, but they never moved much.
They just hovered. So like Harry's helicopters. Well, the sergeant calls it in. They give him permission. Go down, threw around in that breech, man. He lets it go. And all of a sudden, these objects just took off.
Straight up.
Stayed there. The round passed. And then came back and stayed there for, I don't know, but when they came back down, the 3 of us, man, just said that. And we went back and just shot the shit about going home, tripping, driving in our car, going down the road. And we just let it pass. And this happened in Washington I brought up the story. I go, guys, you know, I got this story, and I don't want to sound stupid. And I told the story like Harry and I just explained it. And Harry and Don goes, that was us. I'd forgotten who it was. I'd forgotten what they looked like or anything. And Harry goes, Blues, that was us.
Yeah, we were there.
And I'm going, no. And so all that reality, like I really did that, or I really contributed to that, just, wow, it happened. I mean, you know, in Vietnam, to fire on a UFO has got to be kind of weird. Vietnam was weird.
Any idea what that might have been?
No, but like Harry said, that report, you know, you brought it, you passed it down up to us, to your XO, and so that's what we thought, the sergeant thought. So we didn't know because they were just hovering for the longest time. We just, like 15, 20 minutes before we fired, before he even called in. And of course we ranged in, and that takes time. And
Don said that the armies with those 40 millimeters, they shot at it a couple times too, but it was too far for them to hit anything.
But when we shot at it, it moved. It moved up and came back
Straight
down.
up and down.
It was the funniest thing. I mean, you know, in Vietnam, you know, it was so weird, but just to see that happen, then we just said, we went back talking and just,
forget about that.
Yeah, forget it, man. And we just went back talking because, you know, we weren't doing, I mean, you couldn't drink or do anything at Contin except guard and fight. So, yeah, it was the oddest thing. So this story, just as the oddest thing in my whole life, to tell you the truth, except for another one, but that's another story.
Yeah,
as far as what me and Harry did, that was I think, well, we might have operated together. We don't really know. The stories are still coming out, but this one here will always be remembered.
yeah. It's
The weirdest thing in one of our lives. So
I don't know if anybody else over there had ever seen anything like that or not.
yeah, you can never contact anybody except the stories here. But nobody knew. The sergeant called into battalion. He didn't even tell Blakemore, or he didn't even call into the company, Jim. He called down to battalion because it was like 10, 11. It was late at night.
Yeah.
You know, and we're doing guard duty, but you know, you're wound up like I am now. But yeah, it was just the oddest thing. Anyway, I'm glad it was a good story, and I'm glad it was a true story because I'd be really confused now in my life.
Well, I hope everybody takes it for what it was worth.
Yeah. Yeah, it'd
And
be
if we would have
nice.
shot it down, it'd have been better yet.
Yeah. A UFO in Vietnam would have been.
You might just be getting out of prison.
Could be.
Yeah. Other than that, Harry and I, you know, we rotate in and out, and so, you know, we'd hook up and then not hook up, and that's just the way Vietnam was. But that's the one story, Harry and Don and this sergeant, whoever he was, we don't even know if he's alive, and,
Yeah.
you know, we would love to find the guy and
Bring him in, but
bring him in
Not
just
sure
to
who it
verify,
was.
or, you know, talk about it, because he's the one that called it in. So anyway, the interview and everything was good. I'm glad we got this on film finally.
That's
because Harry and I talk about it. We go, yeah, nobody's going to believe us. Nobody else in the outfit. Nobody, you know, no other Marine. But when he called into battalion, that, you know.
we were trying to get something done.
Yeah, we're trying to cooperate. So, I mean, you weren't even worried about the 3,000 NVA outside the wire, man. You know, you were worried about the UFO. And what was it doing? Spying. And who in the hell was he spying on, man? It's like all these questions, and that's what we were talking about. And after, it's just nothing. Nothing for 55 until we hooked up again. Nothing was ever said. I don't think.
Right.
I never told anybody. I never told my XO or anything, and I never told my friends. I haven't told anybody except for last time at the thing.
Washington there.
Yeah, and when it came to be a realization, that's.
So you guys have any other science fiction tales that you want to share with us?
No,
Oh man, I got a million stories, but
nothing like quite
you'd
like
have to
this.
come over here and sit, sir. Yeah, the interviewer here is Jim Cohen. He used to be my CO when I first got there, and he's pretty nice. He taught me some stuff, and he was a pretty good officer. But I loved him at this one opportunity, this little operation we were on, and I got to really see him as being a human being. So it's good. I'm glad to see everybody here. It's just a loving thing, and I can carry these things for the longest time in my heart, and it helps me to live.
Right.
Especially now. I mean, every time I come, it's special, but this time the special is with my CO. I'm going to carry this one. This is going to be as good as the UFO.
Good.
Is that okay?
Every time we come to these reunions, when we meet everybody again, it's a real good feeling.
And the stories, and what we're trying to do in the BTA is we're trying to get the stories out, not only to pass on to the younger people to let them know what we did, but for ourselves so we can heal. And the stories just, you forget them because it's, a bad place. So you come back home, the stories are very helpful.
Right.
I don't know, as long as I talk to Harry, the stories come out. It's just, what can I say, healthy.
Helps you heal.
There you go. Right on, Harry. Right on. That's good saying. Yeah, we're trying to heal, and the stories are marvelous. They just, no, I didn't do that.
Is there another particular story that really sticks out in your mind?
Not for the two of us.
No.
This is the one. This is the one time that really, it was like being in a firefight with Harry this night. It's that, on your mind. So yeah, it's like being in a firefight and firing on that UFO.
Did you care to share the one about the dice? That I think that.
But you don't remember.
I had this CO, Jim Cohen, and I asked him, and we were on this op, and we had the whole platoon. Yeah, we come out. I don't know, and Jim's not really sure, but anyway, I'm going around in the compound, and I hear all this noise, and I go in this tent, and this tent isn't green, this tent is white. So I go inside the tent, and there's all these guys, and there's a crap game. So I'm looking around, and there's my tank commander, Bert Tavel, there's Virgil Melton, and there's this kid that we was with, Ed Myers. Ed Myers passed away, bless his soul. But
right.
Anyway, Ed was throwing the dice. He had made 12 straight passes. So I'm looking around the room, and here's my CO, just as hot as everybody else. There's no way you can do it. He made 12 straight passes. I threw down my payroll, my next month pay. And here's my CO throwing his combat people way here. Bert's throwing his down. There's this water, and Jim was acting just like a human, not like the CO. He was acting like a human. And he got this group like for 10 minutes all riled up because he was throwing these dang dice. You can't do 13 straight passes, and he does. And I never saw the look on all of us. We walked out of that tent. I lost, because you can't buy anything in Vietnam except candles. And we needed candles to live up at Thien, so.
Yeah.
But it was a good thing. It was just funny to see my CO being just like us. He can't do 13, he can't do 13, and we're throwing down our money, man. Man, fist over fist. There's no way, man. I got caught up in it really bad. I put my signature on my monthly check, so when the paymaster came up to Thien to pay that month, I just turned around and I says, just give it to him. And sitting there walking away with more money. So that's, you got a lot of stories, but these are the two. This one here with my CO and stuff was really good because it seems like we might have gotten together a little bit more. So
Or, yeah.
yeah, that was good, and getting this out with the UFO is even better. So
Yeah, that helped.
yeah, we're glad we got it down.
Harry, you got anything?
Well, just like during TET when we were, they taught me how to play Pinochle. And so during TET, when we're sitting in the bunker playing Pinochle, you hear the rockets come in, everybody just kind of leans over this way, and then it hits. Well, then you play some more, and then another one will come in, and you just lean over again. But I can't even remember how to play Pinochle now. I don't remember how we did it.
There was a card game called Tonk. Did you all play Tonk?
Yeah, we played. Yeah,
I never did.
you and Terville and I played. We played a lot of cards. We played all, and we used to play teams. We played that spade, hearts.
Yeah.
Art.
Yeah,
Right.
we used to play that all the time up there. Mr. Cohen and Terville and I, we used to play cards quite a bit. And we'd get new guys that came up. The short time I was with Jim, and new guys that come up, and first thing, hey, you play cards, and yeah, Jim liked cards and those dice, and that was good, man. I mean, there's not a hell of a lot to do in Vietnam except to operate and try to stay alive. So these little precious moments would always mean more. Like,
Right.
it's just overwhelming how much, play a game of cards, man. You know, we don't have to go out and operate, or we don't have to open up the road. You know, we don't have to stand guard, you know, in 120 degrees, you know. So those things. So all the stories, all I can say is there'll be a lot more. So
Yep.
in 2 years, wherever we're at and stuff, I'll be back and telling more stories.
We'll have more, but if we can remember them.
Albert Travail was from Canada.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Care to talk about him a little bit? Just what you remember about him?
Well, I can tell you everything you want to know about Bert Travail. Nobody liked Bert Travail because Bert was older than us, and he come out of Canada as an officer in tanks. Well, he always told me he wanted to come down, he wanted to be a Marine, and he wanted to be a citizen, and this was the fastest way to be a citizen. With Bert Travail being with him, you knew you were going to live. I knew I could go home. Even if I was there 12 years, I was going to go home with Bert. Bert knew how to operate. He taught everybody. That was his main job. And then everybody that I know that was on Bert's tank got their own tank. Me, I messed up. He came to like me, and so I remained his driver. So I was always thankful for Bert. And to this day, I call him once a week, and I still go down in Houston to see him. Bless his soul.
Yes, he was a good tanker. He was.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Right. And maybe we can recall a few more stories by next time.
And I think Harry and I tell you, I'll wrap it up real. I think Harry and I are really thankful for what we did and where we went and the stories, because we're hoping that the stories that all of us right here, this little three of us, will benefit other people. That's what we're trying to do.
Right.
Simone, sir, we're trying to help the younger people. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, gentlemen.
You're very welcome.